6 spiraled toward Earth. 90 seconds, 6 kills, 1 P-51. German pilots never saw what killed them. They scanned open sky, they checked their tails, they followed doctrine. And still they died. The American who shot them down wasn't faster, he wasn't luckier. He had done something. Something German pilots couldn't figure out in time. Spring of 1944. The sky over Western Europe belongs to no one and everyone. American daylight raids push deeper into the Reich, German. Interceptors rise to meet them. The air war has become brutal mathematics, altitude, fuel range, firepower. Bomber crews die by the hundreds. Escort fighters stretch their legs farther each week, burning fuel they can barely spare, racing home on fumes and prayer. The P-51 Mustang changes the equation. With drop tanks and a built Merlin engine, it can escort bombers all the way to Berlin and back. It turns than a 190. It outruns a 109 in level flight. American pilots begin to believe they can win the air. But belief doesn't solve the core problem. You can outfly the enemy, you can outshoot him. But first, you have to see him before he sees you. In the vertical chaos of a dogfight, spotting the enemy is harder than killing him. Pilots crane their necks until spines ache. They squint into sun glare. They scan horizon in segments, quadrant by quadrant, knowing the one patch of sky they don't check might kill them. And even when you see him, he might see you first. Most American fighters wear olive drab over neutral gray. It's practical, factory efficient. Standard across all fighter groups. But at 20,000 feet, where most combat happens, something isn't working. Enemy pilots seem to spot American fighters first. They choose when to engage. They dictate the terms. Some pilots start to wonder if there's a pattern they're missing. One captain in the 8th Air Force begins to notice something no one else is talking about. He had an eye for what most pilots ignored, what the sky does to contrast at altitude. He learned young to track movement against stillness, to judge distance without instruments. By early 1944, he joined a squadron that had already lost men. He slept in their bunks. He flew their repaired aircraft. He learned their names from mission boards. And he noticed patterns. At altitude, German pilots seemed to spot his squadron early, too early. As if the American fighters were announcing their presence miles before engagement. The captain studied the sky at 20,000 feet during long escort missions. He watched how colors shifted with altitude, how dark objects stood out like targets, how light objects disappeared into haze. He watched bomber formations blend into clouds, while his own flight remained visible for miles. After a mission where 2 pilots didn't come back, he approached his crew chief. "I want to try something." The crew chief looked up from an engine he was working on. "Try what?" "I want to change something about how my aircraft looks at altitude." The crew chief set down his wrench. "What kind of change?" "Can't explain it yet, but I think the way we're painting these fighters is getting people killed." The crew chief studied him, thought about the empty, the names erased from mission boards. The letters packed up and sent home. "If this goes bad, I'm telling them you ordered it." Fair enough. 3 days later, the captain's P-51 looks wrong on the ground. Not damaged, not modified. Just out of place. Like it doesn't belong on the same flight line as the others. Other pilots notice immediately. "What the hell did you do to your aircraft?" "Trying something." "Trying what?" "I'll know after the next mission." Lieutenant, one of the squadron's most experienced pilots, walks around the aircraft. "You know this violates about 6 regulations, right?" "I know." "Germans will see you from France." The captain runs his hand along the fuselage. The color is strange, almost counterintuitive. Maybe, or maybe they won't. That doesn't make any sense. "I know, but I'm willing to find out." The squadron commander doesn't like it, but he doesn't order it changed. Not yet. He's lost too many pilots to ignore any idea that might keep them alive. "1 mission," he tells the captain. "If you get bounced and can't evade, I'm ordering it repainted immediately." "Yes, sir." The captain takes off at 6:47 hours. 4 P-51s in loose formation. 3 standard olive drab. 1 experimental. They climb through cold morning air, engines roaring, propellers biting into thin atmosphere. At 8,000 feet, they form up with the bomber stream. Heavy B-17s in tight boxes, gun positions manned, bomb bays loaded. At 12,000 feet, they cross into contested airspace. Radio chatter increases. Bomber crews report flak concentrations. Fighter escorts scan for bandits. At 15,000 feet, the air temperature drops to -30 degrees. Frost forms on canopy edges. Breath crystallizes instantly. At 20,000 feet, they reach cruise altitude. The captain glances at his own wing. Something's different. The experimental color seems to blend into the haze, not completely, not like magic. But it doesn't stand out the way it used to. It doesn't draw the eye the same way olive drab does against pale sky. He wonders if the enemy will notice the same thing. He's about to find out. Contact comes 1 hour into the mission. Bandits 12 o'clock high. The American fighters break to intercept. The sky dissolves into chaos. Aircraft turning, diving, climbing in three-dimensional chess played at 300 miles per hour. The captain pulls hard into a climbing turn. G-force presses him into his seat. 5, 6. Vision tunnels at the edges. Blood drains from his head. He grunts against the pressure, forcing oxygen into his lungs. His altimeter spins backwards. 20,000 feet. 19,500. 19,000. Ahead, a 109 dives toward the bomber stream. The German is committed, focused on the B-17s, not checking his 6. The captain lines up. Range, 1,200 yards. He waits. Too early and he'll miss. Too late and they will be among the bombers where he can't safely shoot. At 800 yards, he fires a 2-second burst. 6.50 caliber guns roar in unison. The aircraft shudders. Spent brass cartridges stream past his canopy, glinting in sunlight. The brakes left and dives harder, trailing thin wisps of white smoke. Hit but not down. The captain starts to pursue, pulls harder into the turn. G-force increases. 7. His vision narrows to a tunnel. He's on the edge of blackout. Then something strange happens. Another 109 crosses directly in front of him. High to low, close range, less than 1,000 yards. The enemy pilot should see him. The angle is clear. The range is perfect. German training emphasizes constant awareness. Their pilots are good, experienced. They know to check their 6. But the doesn't react. Doesn't turn, doesn't evade, doesn't radio a warning to his flight. It just holds course, as if nothing is there. The captain blinks. He's expecting the break. They always break when they spot a threat. It's instinct, survival reflex. But this one doesn't. He closes distance. 800 yards, 600, 400. His heart rate climbs. This isn't normal. No trained pilot should miss a threat at this range. Still no reaction. At 300 yards, he can see the German pilots head through the canopy. The pilot is scanning methodically. Left sector, right sector, looking for threats. Looking right past him. The captain's finger tightens on the trigger. He centers the gun's sight on this fuselage. Leads slightly for deflection, takes a breath. Fires. 6 machine guns fire in unison. 200 rounds per second combined rate of fire. Tracers arc across sky like burning needles, converging on the target. The 109 shudders violently as armor-piercing incendiary rounds punch through thin aluminum skin. The right wing tears partially off at the root. Hydraulic fluid sprays into the slipstream, crystallizing instantly in the -40-degree air. The aircraft rolls inverted. Canopy blows off with a sharp crack. The pilot bails out, tumbling through space before his parachute deploys with a white snap of silk. The fighter spins toward Earth, trailing black smoke and pieces of debris. The captain doesn't watch it fall. No time. His wingman's voice crackles urgently over the radio. Bandits 2 o'clock high. But the captain has already seen them. Within seconds, another 109 appears in his sights. Same situation, same range, same obliviousness. This German pilot is more alert than the first. His head swivels back and forth constantly, scanning quadrants, checking blind spots, doing everything right according to training. But his gaze slides right over the experimental P-51. His brain registers empty sky where a deadly threat actually exists. The captain fires again, another 2-second burst. This engine explodes in a ball of orange flame, pieces of cowling tear away. The aircraft noses over into a vertical dive. No parachute this time. His wingman's voice, "Jesus lead, how many is that?" The captain doesn't answer. He's already turning, already searching for the next target. Ammo counter reads 800 rounds remaining, enough for maybe 2 more engagements. Then his luck changes. A 190 drops on him from above. High side attack. The German has altitude advantage and speed. Professional intercept. Bandit on your 6, brake right. The captain yanks the stick hard right. G-force slams him sideways. 8-9. His vision grays completely. The aircraft groans under the stress. Tracers flash past his canopy. Bright green German ammunition streaking through the air where he was a second ago. He rolls inverted and pulls through. Negative push him against his harness. Blood rushes to his head. His vision goes red at the edges. The overshoots, unable to match the P-51's turn radius. The German pilot realizes his mistake too late. Now the captain is behind him. But the pilot is good. He doesn't panic. He pushes into a split S, diving for speed, trying to extend and reset. The captain follows. Airspeed builds rapidly. 350 miles per hour, 400, 450. The aircraft shakes. Control surfaces stiffen. At 12,000 feet, the pulls out of the dive and brakes hard left. The captain stays with him. Turn radius. Better energy retention. The P-51's advantage. He pulls lead, centers the gun sight. The is weaving now, desperate, but it's not enough. The captain fires. The tail section disintegrates. The aircraft tumbles out of control. The pilot ejects. Another white parachute against gray sky. 3 kills confirmed, maybe 4. The captain climbs back to altitude, breathing hard, adrenaline surging. His hands are shaking slightly. His mouth is dry. His wingman pulls alongside. Through the canopy, the captain can see him pointing downward at the smoking wrecks scattered across the landscape below. Radio crackles. What the hell was that? The captain looks at his own wing, studies the experimental color against the pale sky. Even he has trouble seeing it clearly when he glances away and looks back. "I don't know yet," he says, "but they couldn't see me." "Couldn't see you at what range?" 300 yards. Long silence on the radio. "That's impossible." "I know." "What did you do?" The captain studies his wing again. "Something different." From the German side, the engagement makes no sense. Weber leads his into the bomber stream using standard intercept tactics. Attack from the sun, high to low. Identify escorts before committing to the attack run. At 8:47 hours, he makes his last correct decision. He checks his 6 clear. He scans for escort fighters, sees 3 olive drab P-51s turning to intercept, exactly where doctrine says they should be. He doesn't see the 4th. He positions his for the attack, everything by the book, everything according to the training he received at. Everything his instructor drilled into him about bomber intercepts. Everything perfect. And it doesn't matter. Weber's wingman dies first, one moment holding formation 200 meters off Weber's right wing. The next moment his aircraft explodes in a ball of orange flame and black smoke. No warning, no evasive maneuver, no radio call. Just sudden violent death. Weber scans frantically. Where did that come from? His head swivels left, right, checking above, checking below. Nothing, just haze and distant contrails and the bomber stream ahead. Another pilot from his dice, then another. Aircraft tumbling from sky trailing smoke and debris, and pieces of wing. The radio erupts in panic. Where are they? I don't see anyone. Something's hitting us from. The transmission cuts off mid-sentence. Weber pulls into a vertical climb, trading speed for altitude, desperate for height advantage. He cranes his neck, searching for the threat, scanning every quadrant. looking for the telltale glint of canopy, the dark shape of fuselage. He sees sky, empty pale sky. His instructor's voice echoes in his memory. The fighter you don't see is the one that kills you. Then his canopy explodes inward. Bullets punch through the cockpit. Something hot slices across his left forearm. Pain explodes up his arm. His instrument panel shatters into fragments of glass and metal. He yanks the ejection handle without thinking, pure survival instinct. The canopy tears away. Wind blast hits him like a physical wall at 300 miles per hour. He tumbles free into space. As he falls beneath his parachute, suspended in silence after the chaos, he watches his spin earthward trailing smoke. He never saw what killed him. And in the hospital 3 days later, when intelligence officers ask him what happened, he won't have an answer. The captain lands at 11:43 hours. His crew chief is already waiting when he taxis to his. Before the propeller stops spinning, the man is climbing onto the wing, running his hands over the experimental surface, checking for damage, looking for bullet holes. "You're back." "I'm back." "How many?" "3 confirmed, maybe 4. The crew chief whistles low, "In one sortie." Other pilots are crowding around now. They saw the fight from distance. They saw him carve through the enemy formation. They want to know what happened. The captain climbs out. His legs are shaky from adrenaline come-down. His flight suit is soaked with sweat despite the cold. Lieutenant pushes to the front. 4 kills, how? The captain looks at his aircraft. At the experimental color that looks so wrong on the ground, but apparently works at altitude. "They couldn't see me." "What do you mean, couldn't see you?" "I closed to 300 yards on one. The German pilot was scanning. His head was turning. He was doing everything right." The captain pauses. "He looked right at me and didn't react." Frowns, "That's not possible." No pilot misses a threat at 300 yards, not if he's actually looking. "I'm telling you what happened." Another pilot speaks up. "So what, you're invisible now?" The captain runs his hand along the fuselage. The surface is smooth. The color is strange against the gray English sky, almost like it's trying to match the background. "Not invisible." "But something about this," he gestures at the color, "something makes the aircraft harder to spot at altitude." "You think it's the color?" "I think the color has something to do with it, yeah." "That's the dumbest theory I've ever heard," says flatly. The captain shrugs. "Then explain how I got 3 confirmed kills in about 90 seconds without taking a single hit. Explain how I closed to 300 yards without the enemy reacting." Silence. Studies the aircraft again, walks around it slowly, looks up at the pale, overcast sky, back at the experimental paint. His expression is skeptical but thoughtful. "It's the color, that's what you're saying." "That's what the evidence suggests." Evidence repeats. "You got lucky once. 3 times in one fight isn't luck." More silence. The other pilots exchange glances. Some look skeptical, others look curious. Studies the paint scheme one more time. "Where do I get mine done?" Within hours, 5 more pilots ask their crew chiefs about the experimental color. Within 3 days, 10 aircraft in the squadron wear similar schemes. The crew chiefs experiment with the exact shades, trying to match what the captain's aircraft has. Within a week, the results start coming in. They're consistent, unnervingly consistent. Pilots flying the lighter aircraft report getting bounced less frequently. They report closing to closer ranges before enemy fighters react. They report surviving encounters that should have killed them. The squadron commander notices. He's deeply skeptical of the theory. Paint doesn't make aircraft invisible. That's absurd. But he's pragmatic about the results. Pilots flying lighter colors are coming back. Pilots flying standard colors are dying at the same rates as before. "Paint 20 more aircraft," he orders. Same scheme. "I want a full flight test." Word spreads. Other squadrons hear about the experiment. Some commanders dismiss it as superstition. Paint doesn't affect combat performance. That's not how physics works. But pilots are pragmatic. They talk to each other. They compare results. And the results keep coming back the same way. Lighter aircraft survive at higher rates. Within a month, Half the fighter groups in the 8th Air Force are experimenting with lighter colors. Authorization hasn't come through official channels yet. Regulations still specify olive drab, but regulations are written by people who aren't getting shot at. The innovation spreads organically. Not because of orders, not because of official studies, because it works, because pilots who fly lighter colors come home more often. And in warfare, what works survives. The German Luftwaffe eventually realizes something has changed. It takes weeks. The pattern emerges slowly from mission reports and intelligence debriefs. American fighters are harder to spot at altitude. Intercepts that should work aren't working. Kill ratios are shifting. Their intelligence officers try to understand why. They interview surviving pilots. They examine gun camera footage. They study engagement patterns. Some pilots report American fighters appearing from nowhere. Others report closing on what they thought was clear sky, only to take fire from an aircraft they swear wasn't visible seconds before. The reports don't make sense. Aircraft don't become invisible. That's not possible. By the time German intelligence identifies the cause, American fighters are adopting lighter camouflage schemes optimized for high-altitude combat. It's too late to counter it effectively. They can't repaint every American fighter. They can't retrain pilot visual perception. They can't change the physics of how human eyes detect contrast against pale sky. German pilot survival rates begin to drop, not dramatically, not overnight. The Luftwaffe remains dangerous through the end of the war. But steadily, measurably, the advantage shifts. The captain flies 23 more missions in his experimental P-51. He shoots down 11 more enemy aircraft. 15 total confirmed kills by the end of his tour. Not the highest score in his squadron. Not close to the top aces who have 30, 40, 50 kills. But he survives. He completes his tour. He goes home. And survival is the ultimate victory. Other pilots aren't as fortunate. The air war remains brutal through 1944 and into 1945. Fighters still get bounced from the sun. Pilots still get caught low on fuel. Aircraft still take flak damage over targets. The lighter color doesn't make anyone invincible. It's not magic. It's just physics and psychology. A few extra seconds before the enemy reacts. A slightly smaller visual profile against pale sky. In a war of attrition, those small advantages matter. They're the difference between completing a tour and dying on Mission 17. Between coming home and not coming home. By D-Day, June 1944, most American fighters over Europe wear lighter colors. P-47 Thunderbolts adopt similar schemes. P-38 Lightnings follow. Even some bomber units experiment with lighter camouflage. The olive drab standard becomes obsolete. Not because anyone officially retired it, but because pilots flying lighter colors survived at higher rates. Natural selection in aluminum and paint. The innovation wasn't technology, it was perception. At 20,000 feet, the sky erases contrast. German doctrine taught pilots where to look. It never taught them what the sky could hide. By the time they understood the mistake, the air war was already lost. 6 died in 90 seconds because their pilots looked directly at the threat and saw nothing.